Welcome to episode 4 of Selling Smart with Sarah Smith and
Jessica Vera.
So in today's episode, we are going to go over the Special Enrollment Period, or SEP, and we're also going to go over how to overcome objections when trying to close a sale.
And we are very excited to have our own Tori Buckman with us today. So Tori, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what exactly you do here at SMA?
Hey guys, so I'm the Director of Field Sales here at Senior Market Advisors, and I run a channel of about 30 agents between Tennessee and Kentucky.
Thanks, Tori. We're super happy to have you. And now time for an SMA value add. Having trouble managing your business? Paying for an expensive CRM tool at your current FMO? There's a better way. SMA offers a proprietary customer relationship management tool built specifically for insurance agents just like you. Our CRM tool is the perfect place to digitally house all your leads, view upcoming appointments, manage your client relationships, keep track of applications, view your sales numbers, and more. Your account is personal to you and not accessible by other agents. Other FMOs may charge you for a software like this, but if you're contracted with SMA, we give you free access. That's right, free. We even offer free access to the CSG quoting tool directly from our CRM application. Interested in learning more? Visit us online at www.seniormarketadvisors.com/podcast or give us a call at 844-334-6066. So on this episode, we are going to be going over everything SEP, and then we're going to be getting into how to overcome objections, and Tori is going to give us a little bit of her insight. And now we bring you Disruptive Waves. Now that OEP is over, we are moving into SEP, or Special Enrollment Period. So first things first, what exactly is SEP? If you've been in the business for a while, you know exactly what this means. The pool of beneficiaries you can sell to has significantly decreased. But just because AEP and OEP have ended, that doesn't mean you can't still help beneficiaries get the coverage they need. Today we want to talk more about who qualifies for SEP and how beneficiaries can find out if they qualify.
So the Special Enrollment Period allows individuals who qualify to enroll or make changes to their Medicare plan outside of the Annual Enrollment Period, or AEP. So that brings us to the most important thing to understand about SEP, which is who qualifies.
Yes. So some of the most common qualifying events include relocating to a different service area, loss of current coverage, chance to get other coverage, a plan contract change, or the beneficiary is eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, in other words, they're dual eligible, or they qualify for low-income subsidies.
Now, obviously, all of these situations do not absolutely guarantee that somebody will qualify for SEP, since it really depends on the situation. But it is very likely that if one of those statements applies to a beneficiary, they will be eligible. So as an agent, it's really important that you understand who qualifies for a special enrollment period so you can help that beneficiary determine their eligibility. And if they qualify, you can help them enroll in a plan.
It's also important to let the beneficiary know that they may need to provide documents to confirm the events that make them eligible. They will probably either be asked to upload them online or mail in copies of the documents. Tell them to not send originals. Make sure that they know that. They will need to keep the originals for their own files.
Also, some people's eligibility results won't actually say anything about providing documentation. So if that's the case with your beneficiary, then they just don't need to worry about it. And also make sure that they know that their coverage start date is based on when they pick a plan. But they can't use their coverage until their special enrollment period eligibility is confirmed and they make their first premium payment.
Yeah, and one more note, those with an SEP as a result of LIS or dual eligibility can now only change plans once per quarter within the first 9 months of the year. And this is to prevent constant plan changes and to help prevent opioid abuse. In the past, they were able to change plans whenever they had a continuous SEP. That has changed for 2019. So just make sure that you're aware of that change.
Yeah, so hopefully that helps you understand what to tell your clients when discussing SEP and just what to expect. All aboard
The Knowledge Train!
Choo-choo!
In today's episode, we want to go over how to overcome objections from beneficiaries when you're out in the field. Tori Buckman is here to help us learn about overcoming objections. She was an agent herself, and as she mentioned earlier, she now manages our agents in Tennessee and Kentucky. Okay, Tori, so let's just get back to the most basic question. What is a sales objection?
A sales objection is any excuse or statement said by a beneficiary that would prevent you from making the sale. These objections may be real or they may be excuses. Your job is to determine which it is and overcome it.
So, Tori, what's your advice on how to overcome objections?
Well, first, I think it's important to understand that you're always going to encounter these objections in the field. And myself, I believe that simple is always the best. So when you encounter objections, it's easy to follow this general process to get back on track. First, you're going to listen, let them explain what their concern is, and don't interrupt them. Next, you're going to understand. So repeat their concerns back to them to show them that you understand and get agreement. Third, you're going to relate. So you're going to emphasize with what and how they're feeling. And you're going to say, I've felt this way too, and always relate to them. So fourth, you're going to offer support by saying that you completely understand their objection, and then you're going to show them how it's worked out well for others. This process is also known as feel, felt, and found, and it's a good approach in overcoming a preliminary objection.
So what do you do if you can't overcome their objection on the initial try?
So there are 3 tips that I want to let people know about for when they're in the house and they're in this situation. Anytime that someone takes you by surprise, you need to remember to say something like, that's interesting. Why do you feel that way? And this gives you more time to gather your thoughts and prepare your answer. And the second one is to never engage in a debate. You never want to anger the prospect or make them think that you know it all. And the third one is do not make the prospect wrong. So you always want to stay away from words like but and use have you considered instead to just show them that you're the expert in the house. If they kick back an objection to feel, felt, found, figure out if it's an excuse or an actual objection, and then pivot from there.
So what are some examples of the most common objections an agent would likely encounter out in the field?
So in the field, agents are going to encounter countless objections, but all of the objections can fit into 3 categories. And these categories are no money, no hurry, and no need. So no money might sound like, I can't afford it, I want a fixed income, or I'm insurance poor. Or maybe even, if this costs money, I don't want it and I can't afford it. No hurry might sound like, I'm shopping and I want to compare, I need to talk to someone, I want to think about it, or I don't have time. And no need would probably sound like, I'm not interested, I already have a policy, or I'm happy with my plan. I will say that I'm happy with my plan is probably the most common objection that insurance agents face. Once again, every objection you hear is going to fall into these 3 categories, so it's important to role play and practice responses to these so that you're ready when you face them in a house.
And now time for an SMA value add. Looking for extra marketing support? SMA Storefront is your one-stop shop for all your marketing needs. Use SMA's Agent Storefront to customize marketing materials, like posters and business cards. Download sales trainings, white papers, and more. SMA Storefront gives you the ability to customize marketing materials with your contact information, so they are one of a kind. Order banners, posters, and giveaways directly from Storefront. Continue your knowledge on sales techniques by viewing the Building Your Business video series and downloading Medicare-related white papers. Customize your marketing, educate yourself, and get the tools you need to succeed, all with SMA Storefront. Interested in learning more? Visit us online at www.seniormarketadvisors.com/podcast or give us a call at 844-334-6066. All right, Tori, can we do a quick role play with these objections just so our listeners can get a better idea of how this would actually play out in the field?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So earlier you mentioned that one of the common objections you might hear in the field is, I can't afford it. I'm on a fixed income. What would you say to that?
So a rebuttal to that might look like, I understand bills can be tough, especially when they come up unexpectedly, and I struggle at times myself paying those extra costs per month. Sometimes they're really hard to justify. However, I have found, as well as several of my clients have found, that it's always better to budget a small amount than be hit with those large unexpected expenses, because in the long run, it makes more sense.
So just to interrupt for 1 second, I do want to point out that Tori just used the feel, felt, found method. So she said, I understand, showing that she listened and that she understands the client's concern. And then she related to them by saying she struggles too with paying extra costs. And then finally, she offers support and explains how it worked well for others. So, okay, back to the role play.
So tell me, if we took cost out of the picture, do you feel like this product would be a good fit for your lifestyle?
I mean, I think so. It seems like a pretty good product to me.
Great. So if you feel like it's a great product for your lifestyle, then we can make adjustments so it'll fit into your budget. To get started, I need to ask you a few questions. Side note, you'll notice that what I did there is start taking the application because you always want to use the assumptive close.
Thanks, Tori. So now we'll move on to another objection that we were talking about earlier that's pretty common in the field, which is, I need to talk to someone.
So now we're going to run through a role play that helps agents determine whether or not they're dealing with an excuse or a real objection. With an excuse, an agent needs to isolate the truth, and with an objection or a condition, they need to take the appropriate objection handling steps.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So if I was the beneficiary and I said, you know what, I feel like I need to talk to my husband, how would you respond to that?
An agent would respond by saying, that makes a lot of sense, Sarah. Do you think you'll have questions about what we covered today?
I do think he will have some questions, yeah.
So what do those questions look like?
I think he'd probably ask about the price.
Well, that's an easy one to answer. Do you also think he'll ask about the product?
I don't think so. I really think he's just more concerned about the price.
Well, what do you think he's going to say about the price?
I think he'll say it's too high.
I bet that's what he'll say too, but Sarah, what do you say about the price?
The beneficiary's response to this question would determine whether you're dealing with an excuse, in this case we'll call it a smokescreen, or an actual objection.
A smokescreen response would look like this.
Well, I think the price is a little high.
Interesting. Do you mind if I ask why you feel that way?
Well, in reality, I think it's a great idea. I just don't want John to think I made a decision without his input.
I understand you don't want to upset your spouse, and I've found many clients in similar situations. But what we can do is we can go ahead and take the application now, and if your husband gets home and has any concerns, we can always cancel the policy. I'm also available to answer his questions over the phone. So to get started, how do you feel about me asking you some questions? And this is when the agent would begin taking the application.
So notice that what Tori did here was she asked, interesting, do you mind if I ask why you feel that way? And this is a great way for her to determine if it's an excuse or an actual objection. And Sarah's response showed that if it were not for her husband's input, she would enroll in the plan. So this is an excuse and not an objection. And then Tori responded by understanding the concern, offering a solution to the problem, and moving forward with the assumptive close method.
So this was a smokescreen response, and now we're going to look at an objection response. But I want to go ahead and remind you that original question, which was, what do you think about the price?
So I just don't know enough about our finances. My husband usually handles those, and I just think he would say that we can't afford it.
Okay, so in this situation, you have two choices. You can get the husband involved over the phone, or you can set an appointment to come back and visit them together. So what this response looks like is, Sarah, let's make sure that your husband gets the full picture, because I reviewed a lot of information today and I understand that it's a lot to take in and consider. I can come back this afternoon and review these options with both of you at the same time. Could you take a look at your calendar and tell me if that works for you?
Yeah, that should work. 6 o'clock works. Does that work for you?
6 works for me. Are you sure that it works for both of you?
Yeah, my husband should be home at 6, no problem.
Awesome. To avoid this objection altogether, it's always important that when you're setting the appointment, you make sure all decision makers will be available for the meeting.
Okay, so if I were a beneficiary and I said to you, you know what, I'm just not interested, what would you say?
I'd respond by saying, Sarah, I understand. About half the time, I don't even listen to what people say when they try to sell me something. In fact, a lot of customers have the same initial reaction that you have. But after looking at the program in detail and seeing all the benefits that it has to offer, most people take it. Do you mind if I ask why you feel like you're not interested?
I just don't know if I'm ready to enroll today.
Well, let me ask you this. What would you do if you didn't have the benefits that these products have? Do you really want to be left uncovered?
Well, I definitely don't want to be uncovered. I guess I just don't know. Can I just have a little bit of time to think it over?
Absolutely. Can we schedule a follow-up appointment?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
How does tomorrow work for you?
I think tomorrow should work fine.
So it's always important to try and schedule a follow-up appointment as soon as possible, because the longer you give the beneficiary time to wait, the less likely you are to get the sale.
What Tori did here was understand and empathize with the client. So she explained how other clients have had similar reactions, but then posed a question to get back on track. And even though the beneficiary didn't want to commit on the spot, Tori set up a follow-up appointment to attempt the sale again at a later date.
All right, so now we'll do the last objection we're going to go over today. So if I was a beneficiary and I said, Tori, I'm really happy with my plan, what would you say?
I'd say that's great and that you're doing a lot better than most people that I speak with on a daily basis. But I also would ask more questions. So I'd say, how did you pick your benefits? Why? What do you like most about them? And if you could change one thing, what would it be? If I could show you a plan that had everything you already have and had one extra benefit that's missing, how would you feel about it?
Well, I'd feel great. Yeah, I feel like my plan right now doesn't quite cover everything I want. Like, I like it, but yeah, I guess there's probably more out there.
See how Tori understood the beneficiary's concern and then related to them? She then asked probing questions to get the beneficiary to really think about their own policy and consider other options.
So in this situation, you always want to go back to your needs analysis, which is the first thing you do in an appointment to find someone's pain points and what they really need. So if Sarah, for example, really wanted dental coverage, we would try to find a plan that has everything that she has right now, but has an additional dental benefit.
All right, that will conclude our Overcoming Objections roleplay for today. Thank you so much to Tori for taking the time to join us for today's episode. Lots of really valuable information here. We really, really appreciate it.
And now, ending on a positive note. Today we want to share a submission from one of our own agents, Rhea Swaze. So thank you so much, Rhea, for your submission to the podcast, and I'll hand it over to Sarah.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and read her submission. It's really inspiring. It's so cute. Really, really nice feel-good story. So Rhea writes, I remember as a child my grandmother telling me that whatever I decide to do or become in my life, to make sure that I choose a field that helps someone. Looking down on me now and seeing how I have taken her advice, I'm sure she is smiling. I have had clients call me just to tell me I love you. Thank you for helping me. So then she goes on to talk about how many times she's been to different beneficiaries' homes of people who are less fortunate than her, who would always try to give her something before she left the house. And then she goes on to say it might be some fish they caught, a bottle of water, a honey bun, a sweet potato, or a piece of candy. I have even had them stand at my car door and say a prayer that I would be safe in my travels. The people that have less are generally the ones that want to give the most. I feel like I'm on a mission, more so than just going to work. It's a great feeling.
Wow, so inspiring. I really like that story.
Yeah, when I first read it, I just got so happy because that's truly why we do what we do, right? Mm-hmm. Serving the underserved. And that's exactly what Rhea did. And clearly she was super excited about it. And it gave her that feel-good feeling.
Right.
So.
And I'm sure she's not the only one who's had experiences like that as well.
So if any of you out there listening would like to submit your own story similar to Rhea's, if you have any sort of feel-good story, especially from out in the field, we'd love to hear it and we'd love to feature you on the podcast. So to submit your story, go to www.seniormarketadvisors.com/podcast and look up at the top of your screen. There's going to be a link that says share your story.
And then share your story. It's that easy.
Yes, and you will definitely be featured on the podcast.
Interested in learning more about Senior Market Advisors? Give us a call at 844-334-6066. All right, everyone. So that concludes today's podcast episode. We really appreciate you joining us today on Selling Smart with Senior Market Advisors.